Now, boosting police patrols and cracking down on anti-social behaviour, the Home Secretary has promised safer streets this summer.
But will that be enough to solve the problem? Or is it time to go further, maybe to look to the parents of young people to be held accountable for their children's actions? You've already got involved, and let us know what you think about this. And joining us to discuss it is mum of two, Etta Jewell, who says children are a reflection of their parents, and parent and former teacher, David Lewis, who says children need to know the consequences of their own actions. Well, let's start with you, because you're both parent and teacher. I often think teachers must think the most difficult thing about teaching is the parents and trying to deal with them. Excuse me, David. Why is not making the parents accountable the right thing to do? Why should we not hold parents responsible for the children in their care and their behaviour?
Look, to my mind, it's about where the buck stops. And the buck stops, for me, if the kid sometimes I find is old enough to misbehave, they've got to be old enough to take responsibility for that and not always have their parents to come back and give them an ear bashing, right? If I think back to when I was that age and I was messing about with my friends, I would be... You know, sometimes, you know, we'd get an ear bashing from someone who was locally there. Yeah. It wouldn't always need to get back to my parents. That is not where, for me, the discipline needs to be. The people need to learn that it actually comes from where they are at that moment and not necessarily to go back to, you know, mum and give them an absolute, you know, give them a telling off from hell. I'm looking at Ate now, you're ready to jump in with a different opinion.
I'm horrified. I come from a Nigerian Trinidadian home. Right. If the police had marched me home as a teenager, I would ask the police to arrest me for protective custody. Take me away, because my mum is scarier than the police. It's, you know, your children who... If they're under 18, they are under your watch. This is your household. It is your personal responsibility. How they act in the world is a reflection of your parenting. Listen, I've got 14-year-old girls. They're good girls, but I'm no under illusion. I was 14 as well. But the morals and the values you instill in them and how they move in the world, that is on you.
But hang on. The kids have to be able to take responsibility for that, right? If your kids are 14, I think back to when I was 14. I was like, pretty much, I mean, you wouldn't think you're now peak moron. Back when I was 14, behaving like a bit of an idiot on the street sometimes, right? And that is the time that I'd have to... I was old enough to know what I was doing, right? I'm just saying that it can't just be an opportunity just to get who can give you the biggest telling off. What I'm trying to say was, where does the buck stop? It doesn't have to go back to the parents all the time.
If there's a fine to pay, guess what? You're going to be babysitting and doing it. If there's litter or community service, you do it. But, you know, if my children didn't turn up to school, I'd be responsible for truancy. So what is the difference if they are making a proper nuisance of themselves in a public place? Is there a difference
in some of the behaviour that we're seeing? Because some of the antisocial behaviour we're seeing it is kids out of control, isn't it? And we can't just lock up every child. Apart from anything, the prisons are full. So is fining the parents and getting them to step in, because sometimes, whether we like it or not, that fine makes parents think differently.
I bet you it does. Yeah, but I mean, a lot of the antisocial stuff is online, I imagine, a lot now, which is very different from when I was, or when Ate, I don't want to cast any aspersions about how old Ate may or may not be.
I'm 47 and very proud to be in my second act. Thank you very much.
What I'm saying for both of us, and we were young and didn't have that problem. But locking people up is not necessarily the answer, right? But I'm just saying it's not an opportunity to use discipline for the parents just to become involved all the time. This is what it seems. It seems like parents are having to take responsibility for someone who's perfectly capable, who is old enough to be out doing what they need to be doing. They can take some responsibility.
What I'm just talking about is shame and fear, right? Fear of your parents, fear of the consequences from the community, and that sense that you would feel real shame, and the family would too. I mean, we're talking about serious offences. I wonder whether you'd behave in the way that you had if there would be that social shame, or if you'd been terrified of your parents. That's what Ate's getting at.
Listen, my mum could give me a telling off, I imagine, to rival anything that Ate might be able to do.
You haven't seen my mother's Trinidadian side-eye, that's what I'm saying. But community is really... Can I just say, I don't want to villainise parents. I am divorced now, I'm a single parent, I am co-parenting, but we all know that mums do a lot of the heavy lifting, or if you're in a single-parent family. I think there should be more support. Where are the Biker Grove community centres so that these kids are
Well,
not messing
funnily enough,
about?
this is what Gary is saying. He says, how can you punish parents for their children's actions? First of all, what about Girl Guides, Sea Cadets, all the other cadets, Scouts? Where's the support for that? But also, when they have already taken discipline away from the parents, children are no longer scared of anyone because the government has taken away all discipline from parents, teachers and police. So the youth doesn't care. Is that the nub of the problem? And of course, goodness, as I say this, we know it's not all young people, but is there something in that?
I think there will be some people who just will not respond to whatever discipline you throw.
Right.
I mean, ask the man next to you. He will deal with judging, criminality, Rob, over here, over his time. But I have a sense that there are some people, in my experience, going back as a teacher, who do not respond to very much at all, right? Hopefully that is a very limited amount of people who would fall through the cracks from it. What I'm saying is, and I believe in it, and it's good for the kid as well. I think it's good for the kid to take responsibility earlier on, right? I don't feel it's always on the parent to be steering them on the path righteously. Of course, they're there to guide and all these things. Of course we are, and I would do the same for my kids. But it's like, at what point it's good for them that they don't
take over. And we don't, as you say, want to demonise parents either.
No,
well,
handle your business. My children are my business. Handle your business.
Handle your business.
Handle your business.
Look, right. I agree with you on that.
Handle your business.
We asked you at home if parents should face legal action for children running Riot. Wait for this. 90% said yes and 10% said no.
Ooh.
OK.
You might be asking the wrong people, I'm afraid.
Do you think? Well,
British public.
No, fair enough.
They're with her, right?
That's true. It looks like it. Quite substantial.
Ranvir, thank you very much to both of you.
Thank you
very much indeed.